Hey everybody, this is Michael with MTG Hype, and I just wanted to talk about a few rules changes that Wizards of the Coast is implementing for Magic. Now your first question might be, do these rules changes affect me directly and immediately? And I'm going to get into that a little bit because it's a little bit different for each rule, but you may see that they don't really affect you if you're a casual player for right now, but we'll see down the road if they do affect you. There's a rules change that they're implementing specifically at Pro Tour Magic Origins, which takes place in late July into early August. And so during Pro Tour Magic Origins, the new rule, to simplify it, is basically you take whatever mulligans you want to take, and then you are able to scry once you're cool with your hand. You get to scry one, and then the game begins. And if you don't mulligan, then you don't get to scry. So essentially, one of the things I want to note is that it's not like you can mulligan and then scry and then say, okay, I want to mulligan again and then scry again. That's not how it works. You just mulligan, 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 and then when you're fine with your hand, you scry one. So obviously the objective of this is to get a little more consistency in the hands that are drawn, and I think overall it's a pretty good rule, one that I'd like to see implemented within Magic, even on casual levels, and just overall. The one downside, the one thing I don't like about it is it's a new rule, and I tend to be wary of new rules, when there's these new players or these inexperienced players, and then all of a sudden you change the rules on them. And then, of course, there are also players that played, 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, and they're expected to know, oh, there's this rules change. And I don't really like that for that individual reason. But I think overall, like, the good outweighs the bad, because there are too many games that I play where either my opponent just has nothing and they barely get to play at all, or, obviously it's even worse when I don't have anything that I can play and I just lose. That's not fun. But like I said, it's not fun the other way either. I don't like it when my opponent just doesn't really get to play their deck. So I think it's good to add some consistency, at least you're basically giving yourself one turn of a better card, hopefully. So there's still a little variability, but, it helps. The second rule change is now head judges can go and do video reviews during the Pro Tour, the World Championship, and the Magic World Cup. So if you've been watching any of the major events recently, Patrick Chapin, he had an instance where he misplayed a certain ability on a planeswalker, and one of the major questions of that particular instance was, could you use video to review the incident? And in that case, they didn't review it. I saw another video recently. I don't remember the specific occurrence, but it was a few years back. There was video used during, I believe, a Pro Tour, and they actually used the video in that Pro Tour. So there's been kind of a mixed signal about, can video be used? Can it not be used? Are they allowed to do that? And so I think it's good to try it out. You see it's been used. We use replay in NFL, and then NBA and NHL picked it up, and finally Major League Baseball picked it up. I know not everybody watches sports, not all people who play Magic watch sports, but you have to use that as an example, as an analogy, and we've seen that overall I think that's been pretty good. It's been a pretty positive thing for those sports. Why not use it in Magic? A game that's a card game, you can use the cameras that are available. I've heard people say, well, I don't want any of these replays used unless everyone can use replays at every table at these events. And I don't really agree with that. I think use the video when you got it. Like I said, people are going to disagree with that. They're going to say it's not fair. I think it's, you're being as fair as you possibly can. It's not going to be fair when you're at one of the tables and a bad call gets made against you, but that doesn't justify making a bad call at a table that has a video. So I think overall it's just a good rule. It's a good idea, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll get implemented even more, but we'll just have to see about that. The last set of rules that are changing has to do with the layout of cards. One of the main things is that creatures have to be in front of lands. So you may see a lot of people that they put their lands out in front and then they have their creatures in the back. Well, now, it's not going to be like that on video, on camera. So this is in the video feature matches at the Pro Tour, but maybe it'll get implemented on a wider basis. We'll just have to see. But yeah, creatures in front of lands, that's the major thing. There's also the library can be on either side of the play area, left or right. The graveyard must be adjacent to the library. The exile zone must be near the library graveyard. It must be distinct from the graveyard. So those are things, again, about placement. I know some people do weird things with exile. Like sometimes, I've kind of been in between. I've started to do exile right next to my graveyard, just turn them sideways. But I know some people, they put exile out in the middle of the playmat, which I think is reasonable too. And then, if a card is exiled by a permanent in play, the exiled card must be placed in proximity to that exiling permanent. I don't see any problem with that. I've never really seen anybody do that confusingly, but and then all untapped cards in play must face the controller of that card. Again, I've never seen a problem with that, but I guess, some people maybe turn them upside down. I don't know. But anyway, those all seem like good rules, seem like good layout rules. I specifically do not like the creatures behind the lands. I think it's just usually, common sense to me. Like, you're going to have to read the creatures most of the time. The lands, if it's a mountain, you're not going to have to read it. If it's if it's like a Caves of Koilos, you don't have to necessarily read it. Or like Shrine of Nyx, you might have to read, but you read it once and then you see it, and to me the creatures are a bigger deal. So and the enchantments and the anything else that should be out in front of the lands, I think those are harder to read. So alright, thanks for watching MTG Hype. Please, you can thumbs up this video, like on Facebook, follow on Twitter. I'm gonna probably be streaming on Twitch the new Magic Duels Origins Planeswalker video game. I'm gonna try to stream that, so I'll let you know if that comes out and I do that. So thank you very much. Peace.